Sports have these moments that have nothing to do with the score, not rankings, not prize money, and not even who wins the trophy at the end. It is the kind of moment that makes 50,000 people go completely silent before they absolutely lose their minds. And it lasts maybe 30 seconds. This is one of those moments. At the center is a 19-year-old from Manila named Alex, standing on a Berlin tennis court doing something so simple and unexpected it stopped one of the greatest athletes ever dead in her tracks. We are talking about Steffi Graf, not moving a muscle, staring at this teenager like she just witnessed something unseen in decades. So what happened? What could a 19-year-old do during a routine changeover? No point being played, no dramatic shot, and no crowd moment being orchestrated that would make Steffi Graf look like that. The answer is simple and deeply complicated. To understand it, you have to go back to Manila to a girl never supposed to end up here. Alex grew up in a tennis family. Her father, Michael, played professionally, so she was around rackets and courts from the time she could walk. But there is a massive difference between growing up around tennis and being built for it at the highest level. Those closest to Alex figured out that difference early. There was something in the way she moved and the way she processed the game. Not just physically, but mentally. That separated her from kids who were just good. Her father recognized it. Only someone who has been inside professional sports can recognize that kind of potential. This was not a hobby. This was not even a talent to be nurtured casually. This needed a completely different environment to become what it was capable of being. So the family made a decision that changed everything. They sent Alex to Spain. Not just anywhere, but to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, one of the most demanding and selective tennis development programs on the planet. This is not a place for kids to grow at their own pace. Here, the training is relentless, and the standard they set is absolutely brutal. The expectation every single day is that you will push past whatever you thought your limit was yesterday. Most kids who arrive with stars in their eyes leave after learning a hard lesson about the gap between potential and excellence. Alex did not leave. She dug in and adapted. She did what only a rare kind of person can do in an environment built to see who you are under pressure. While she was grinding through 12-hour training days and learning to compete against the best young players in Europe, something else was happening. Something else was happening that nobody was really paying attention to at the time. She was absorbing the world around her. The academy operates in Spanish, obviously, but the players come from everywhere. Her tournaments during those development years took her across Europe and into several German-speaking regions. These were environments where English was not the bridge. You either figured out how to communicate or you stayed on the outside of every conversation. Alex did not stay on the outside. She never had the personality for that. She picked up Spanish the way you do when it is the air you breathe. She started picking up other languages, too. Not from textbooks or apps on her phone during her downtime. She learned from being around people and deciding those people were worth talking to in their own native languages. That quiet choice, made over years with zero audience and no applause, is the entire foundation for what happened in Berlin. Before we get there, you need to know her court accomplishments. The Berlin moment is sometimes framed as just a charming human interest story. It is that, but it is also much more once you understand who Alex is as a competitor. In 2022, she won the Junior Australian Open. Later that year, she won the Junior US Open. That is 2 Grand Slam junior titles in 1 calendar year. By doing so, she became the first Filipino player in history to win a Grand Slam title at any level. Junior or senior, it did not matter. No one from the Philippines had ever done that. She did it without any major sponsors. She lacked the institutional backing that most young players at that elite level usually have access to. She did it without the machine that surrounds athletes from countries where tennis is a mainstream sport with serious infrastructure behind it. She just did it on the strength of her game and everything she built inside herself during those years in Mallorca. The tennis world noticed, but the wider world and the casual sports audience did not. People who do not follow junior Grand Slams closely were still unaware that something genuinely special was developing. That was about to change in a very big way in Germany. Now, let us talk about Berlin, because you need to feel the atmosphere to understand why the moment landed the way it did. German tennis crowds carry an energy that is hard to explain if you have never experienced it yourself. It comes from decades of watching their nation produce champions who represented something very specific about the German identity. Something precise, disciplined, and formidable. Steffi Graf is woven into that identity more than almost any athlete is woven into any national identity anywhere. She did not just win. She dominated an entire era with a completeness that still feels almost impossible when you look at the numbers. So when a German tennis crowd gathers for a major event in Berlin, they bring all of that history with them. They are warm and engaged, but they watch through a particular lens. They know greatness. They have a very specific internal reference point. Alex owned the court, the crowd hanging on every shot. She was playing with incredible intensity and purpose, moving with pure grace, showing that raw composure you cannot manufacture. You either have it or you do not. The atmosphere was electric, a high-stakes tennis match on a perfect day in Berlin. Then, the changeover finally hit. Think about a tennis changeover. It is a pause. 90 seconds of absolutely nothing happening on the court. Players sit and towel off. They drink water and breathe. Ball kids move across the court, their work designed to be completely invisible. Fans shift in their seats or check their phones. Nothing ever happens. That is essentially the entire point of these breaks. A young German ball kid, maybe 14 or 15 years old, came to Alex's side to perform the totally routine task of handing over a fresh towel. On any other day, this is a 3-second interaction that leaves zero impression on anyone watching. But then Alex looked up at the kid and spoke to her in perfect German. Not some rehearsed phrase with a shaky accent from someone seeking credit for 6 months of study. Not the kind of German that just says, "I know a few words. Aren't I charming?" This was warm, natural, colloquial German. The kind you only get by truly living the language and caring enough to meet people exactly where they are in life. The ball kid's face did something remarkable. That trained professionalism and invisible efficiency just collapsed for a second. A massive, genuine grin spread across her entire face. She was stunned and delighted, completely unable to hide her reaction. The front rows of the stadium caught it first. People leaned in. Whispers rippled through the sections like a wave you could actually watch travel. The middle tiers caught it next, then the upper sections. Soon, the entire stadium understood exactly what they had just witnessed. The roar that erupted from the crowd was not the sound of a winning shot being played. It was not a celebration tied to a point, game, or set. It was something more than that. It was 50,000 people reacting to a moment of real human connection, a connection where you least expect it. It is not supposed to happen because professional sports train everything out of athletes except the performance, the result, and the climb up the rankings. Alex scanned the stadium with a look of genuine confusion, like she had not anticipated this massive reaction at all. Like speaking German to a teenager on German soil was just the obvious thing to do in that moment. She could not quite understand why everyone was treating it like something so extraordinary. And right there is the point. That specific quality of her reaction is what truly won the crowd over. If she had looked around with a smile that said, "Yes, I did the charming thing," it would have been nice, then over. But she looked truly surprised and humble, as if she had not thought of it as a gesture, but just a simple conversation. Now, we must talk about Steffi Graf, because the cameras caught her face at that exact moment. What they captured deserves its own discussion. Steffi Graf won 22 Grand Slam singles titles. She spent 377 weeks as world number 1, a record that stood for many years. She completed a calendar year winning all 4 Grand Slams plus an Olympic gold medal. That feat had never been done before and has never happened since. She watches tennis the way only a legend who built their life inside the sport can. She was not just a celebrity sitting in the stands. She watched with eyes that have seen thousands of matches. She knows instinctively what is real, what is authentic, and what is just a performance. When Alex spoke German to that ball kid, Steffi Graf stopped moving entirely. She was completely still. That stillness meant something very specific. It was not confusion or the blank stare of someone trying to figure out the situation. It was the stillness of someone who had just seen something that reached back through everything they know about the sport and made them feel it differently for a moment. Someone who understood better than almost anyone in that stadium exactly how rare this kind of person really is. The clip was viral before the changeover even finished. Not from official broadcasts, but from real people, from fans in the stands who had the instinct to record. Within the hour, the hashtag was trending across Germany. Passionate Filipino fan communities, some of the most organized in tennis, had already amplified the moment globally. Comments poured in from everywhere, and they were truly remarkable in how consistent they were across different languages, cultures, and backgrounds. People kept repeating the same idea in different ways. She did not have to do that. She absolutely did not have to. And that is the thing, right? She did not have to. Nobody required it. It does not help her forehand. It does not improve her serve or move her up the rankings. There is zero strategic benefit to learning German as a Filipino player trained in Spain. She was not just checking a box. She learned it because through years of travel and competition, surrounded by people from everywhere, she made a choice. She made a choice that most people in her elite position would never even think to make. She decided the people around her were worth the effort of learning their language, not for an audience and not for a viral moment like this. She did it quietly, over years of being a person who believed others deserved that kind of attention, even when no one was watching. That is the foundation of what happened in Berlin. It was not the German lesson, but the person who chose to learn it. There is a version of Alex's story that is told very simply. A young Filipino girl, breaking barriers and winning titles. It is heartwarming and it is absolutely true, but it misses something vital. It misses what really happened in Berlin. Berlin revealed that Alex is much more than just a talented player. This sport is already full of talent. It is not just about her focus or her technical skill. It is how she moves through the world. She has this natural attentiveness toward others that no coach could ever teach her. She has a real curiosity about the people around her. She does not just pass through their space, she actually tries to connect with them. Tennis is great at making champions, but it is not always great at making human beings we love to watch. What Alex is doing right now feels like a revolution. That ball kid in Berlin will likely remember that single moment for the rest of her life. Not because a celebrity spoke to her, but because a 19-year-old pro, in the heat of a high-stakes match, stepped out of her competitive bubble. She looked up and truly saw her. She saw her and chose, in that split second, to be fully present in the most direct way possible. That is what stunned Steffi Graf. That is what made 50,000 fans forget the match for 30 seconds. It was not a language, it was a person. And there was Alex, looking confused by the attention, a bit amused, and completely herself. She did not understand why everyone was so moved, which is exactly why they were. The real question this leaves us with has nothing to do with tennis. It is not about winning Grand Slams or reaching #1. It is not about the trophies or getting her name in the history books alongside the greatest of all time. All of that might happen, and we will be watching. But the real question is what she represents for the sport right now. She refuses to see excellence and humanity as two different things. She competes for every point with everything she has, but stays a full human being in the moments between the play. That is rare. It is genuinely, almost painfully rare in professional sports today. Berlin felt it. Steffi Graf knew it. And now you know it, too.